Step inside the shadowy aisles of England's most haunted churches, where the dead don't rest, the past won't stay buried, and every whisper could be a ghost breathing down your neck. From phantom nuns bricked alive in crypts to cursed black dogs that stalk the living, these hallowed grounds hide horrors that defy explanation. Grab your crucifix and a flashlight. We're uncovering the UK's most bone-chilling true ghost stories, backed by centuries of documented terror. These aren't just legends, they're real hauntings that still terrify visitors today. If you think churches are safe havens, you're dead wrong. Help us reach 1,000 subscribers before September 1st, 2025. Hit subscribe now to join our ghost hunting community and unlock more chilling investigations. 1 Borley Church, Essex. Borley Church, located near the infamous Borley Rectory, once called the most haunted house in England, has its own terrifying ghost stories. The church, dedicated to St. Mary the Virgin, dates back to the 12th century and is said to be haunted by multiple spirits, including a headless coachman, a phantom nun, and a mysterious black figure seen lurking in the graveyard. One of the most famous legends involves 2 star-crossed lovers, a monk from Borley Monastery and a nun from Bears. According to local tales, they tried to elope but were caught and executed. The nun was bricked alive in the convent walls, and the monk was beheaded. Since then, visitors have reported seeing the ghostly nun wandering near the churchyard, sometimes vanishing into thin air. Others claim to hear muffled cries or the sound of a horse-drawn carriage at midnight, believed to be the headless coachman's ghostly ride. Another chilling account comes from Harry Price, a famous paranormal investigator who studied Borley's hauntings in the 1930s. He recorded strange phenomena, including mysterious footsteps, floating lights, and even spirit messages scratched onto walls. Some believe the church is a portal for lost souls, with dark energies lingering from its tragic past. Even today, visitors report cold spots, sudden feelings of dread, and unexplained shadows moving between the graves. Some have captured orbs and ghostly figures in photographs, adding to Borley Church's reputation as one of Britain's most haunted religious sites. Would you like more details on any specific ghost story from Borley? 2 St. Mary's Church, Whitby, North Yorkshire. Perched high on Whitby's East Cliff, the haunting ruins of St. Mary's Church loom over the town, steeped in eerie legends and ghostly sightings. The church, dating back to the 12th century, is closely tied to Bram Stoker's Dracula. The author was inspired by its Gothic graveyard and the chilling atmosphere. But beyond fiction, St. Mary's has real ghost stories that send shivers down visitors' spines. One of the most persistent spirits is the Black Monk, a shadowy figure seen gliding through the churchyard at dusk. Locals believe he was a medieval monk who committed a terrible sin and now wanders in eternal penance. Some visitors report sudden cold gusts of wind near his apparition, even on calm days. Others claim to hear low, mournful chanting, perhaps echoes of long-dead clergy. Another ghostly resident is the White Lady, often spotted near the graves of sailors. According to legend, she was a fisherman's wife who threw herself from the cliffs after her husband was lost at sea. Her weeping figure has been seen clutching the church's old stone walls, her cries carried by the sea wind. The church's 199 steps, leading up from Whitby's harbor, are also haunted. Tourists and paranormal investigators have reported phantom footsteps following them, along with an unseen force tugging at their clothes. Some believe these are the spirits of shipwrecked souls buried in the churchyard, still drawn to the sea. Even more unsettling are the reports of shadowy figures lurking in the ruined abbey next to the church. Some say these are the ghosts of monks who once lived there, while others think they're demonic entities drawn to the sacred site. St. Mary's Church remains one of England's most haunted places, where history, horror, and the supernatural collide. Whether it's the whispers of monks, the sobs of the White Lady, or Dracula's dark influence, this Gothic landmark never fails to terrify. 3 St. Nicholas Church, Plucklay, Kent. Nestled in Plucklay, officially named the most haunted village in England, St. Nicholas Church has long been a hotspot for paranormal activity. The churchyard and surrounding area are riddled with eerie tales, many documented by ghost hunters and locals alike. One of the most famous spirits is the Red Lady, a sorrowful woman in a crimson dress said to wander the churchyard. Legend claims she was a heartbroken noblewoman who took her own life after her lover abandoned her. Visitors report seeing her floating between graves, her face hidden by a veil, before she vanishes near an old oak tree. Some have even captured strange red mist in photographs where she appears. Another ghost is the Phantom Vicar, believed to be the spirit of a 19th century clergyman who still tends to his church. Witnesses say they've seen a shadowy figure in clerical robes inside the church at night, sometimes heard muttering prayers near the altar. Others claim the organ plays by itself, though no one is there. Just beyond the church lies the infamous Screaming Woods, officially Deering Woods, where many have heard blood-curdling shrieks at night. Some say these are the tormented souls of highwaymen hanged nearby, while others believe the woods are a gateway for lost spirits. Paranormal investigators have recorded disembodied voices and sudden temperature drops in the area. Even the church's ancient yew tree is said to be haunted. Locals whisper that if you walk around it 3 times at midnight, you'll summon a hooded figure who follows you home. With so many documented sightings, St. Nicholas Church remains one of Kent's most chilling locations, where the dead seem to walk alongside the living. For St. Bartholomew's Church, Crobaro, East Sussex. Tucked away in the quiet town of Crobaro, St. Bartholomew's Church hides a dark secret. It's haunted by the infamous Grey Lady, one of Sussex's most well-documented ghosts. Built in the 19th century, this seemingly peaceful church has long been a focal point for paranormal activity, with multiple independent witnesses reporting eerie encounters. The Grey Lady is said to be the spirit of a heartbroken Victorian woman who died in tragic circumstances. Most sightings occur near the North Aisle, where witnesses describe a pale, translucent figure gliding silently before disappearing through walls. Some visitors report sudden waves of sadness when near her apparition, as if her sorrow lingers beyond death. In 2017, a local photographer captured a misty female figure near the church organ, despite no one being there at the time. But the Grey Lady isn't the only ghost here. Another unsettling presence is linked to a particular tombstone in the churchyard, marked only with the initials E.W. Legend says a man buried there in the 1800s was cursed for betraying his family, and those who touched the grave claim to feel an invisible hand gripping their wrist. Some have even reported hearing a harsh whisper saying, "Leave now," when standing too close. Even the church's bell tower has a ghostly reputation. Locals swear that sometimes, midnight chimes ring on their own, with no one inside. One bell ringer claimed to see a shadowy figure pulling the ropes before vanishing, believed to be the spirit of a former sexton who loved the church too much to leave. With so many recorded sightings, St. Bartholomew's remains one of East Sussex's most haunted churches, where the past never truly rests. 5 St. James Church, Cooling, Kent. Standing solemnly in the Kent marshes, St. James Church in Cooling is best known for its eerie connection to Charles Dickens' Great Expectations, but its real ghost stories are even more chilling. The churchyard contains 13 tiny gravestones of children from the same family, inspiring Dickens' famous opening scene. Visitors claim these graves are far from peaceful, with reports of childlike figures seen playing among the stones before vanishing. One of the most persistent apparitions is a small girl in Victorian clothing, often spotted near the Lich Gate. Witnesses describe her staring silently before disappearing into the mist. Some believe she's one of the children buried here, while others think she's a drowned marsh child from local folklore. In 2019, a paranormal investigator captured an EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, of a child whispering, "Can you see me?" near the graves. The church itself harbors darker energies. A shadowy figure has been seen lurking in the nave, believed to be a smuggler killed in the 18th century when cooling was a hotspot for illegal trade. Locals say if you stand in the porch at dusk, you might hear muffled voices discussing hidden contraband, a ghostly echo of the church's lawless past. Even the surrounding marshland adds to the hauntings. Walkers report being followed by unseen footsteps, while others describe a phantom black dog with glowing eyes that vanishes when approached, a classic Kentish omen of death. With its literary history and very real ghostly activity, St. James' Church remains one of Kent's most atmospheric and unsettling haunted locations. 6 St. Mary's Church, Newchurch, Isle of Wight. Deep in the rural heart of the Isle of Wight stands St. Mary's Church, a 12th century building shrouded in one of England's most disturbing ghost stories. The church is infamous for its black nun haunting, a sinister figure said to bring misfortune to anyone who sees her. Unlike typical benevolent nuns, this specter wears inky black robes and appears only before tragedies. Locals whisper she was a 17th century nun who made a pact with the devil after being excommunicated, and now her cursed spirit lingers near the church's ancient yew tree. The most chilling account comes from 1983, when a group of teenagers reported seeing the black nun pointing at them through the church windows. Within a week, one was killed in a motorcycle accident on the nearby military road. Since then, multiple witnesses claim to have seen her before accidents or deaths in the parish. The church's records show an unusual number of sudden deaths logged after reported sightings. Beneath the church lies another mystery, the moving coffin of Sir John Oglander. In the 1800s, workers repairing the crypt found his lead coffin had shifted position despite being sealed in a stone vault. Each time it was put back, it moved again. Some believe restless spirits rearrange it, while others think it's connected to an old island legend about undead knights. The coffin is now cemented in place, but visitors still report scraping sounds from below the church floor. The churchyard has its own hauntings. Moonlit visitors describe seeing floating lights dancing between graves, possibly the legendary corpse candles that once guided funeral processions. More disturbing are reports of a half-visible figure digging at an unmarked grave, vanishing when approached. With its combination of documented sightings and tragic history, St. Mary's remains one of the Isle of Wight's most actively haunted sites. Even skeptical visitors admit feeling watched by something unseen within its ancient walls. 7 St. Andrew's Church, Buckland, Oxfordshire. Nestled in the quiet village of Buckland, St. Andrew's Church holds dark secrets from its medieval past that continue to manifest in terrifying ways. The 12th century church is most famous for its procession of ghostly monks seen marching through the nave at midnight, their hooded figures illuminated by unseen candlelight. Local historians believe these are the spirits of Cistercian monks from a nearby monastery destroyed during Henry VIII's dissolution, forever doomed to repeat their final sacred rites. The most disturbing phenomenon centers around the North Aisle altar, where visitors report finding fresh bloodstains that disappear when examined closely. In 2015, a church cleaner documented these stains in her logbook for 3 consecutive nights before they suddenly ceased. Paranormal investigators suggest this may be connected to the 1589 murder of a Catholic priest who was stabbed at the altar during secret Massachusetts. Some worshippers claim to hear gurgling whispers near this spot, believed to be the dying priest's last prayers. The churchyard has equally chilling activity. Multiple witnesses have seen a floating black mass moving between graves, particularly near the tomb of Sir John Talbot, died in 1612. Legend says Talbot imprisoned his wife's lover beneath the church floor, and the trapped man's spirit now seeks revenge. Those who linger near the tomb after dark report feeling invisible hands pulling at their clothes. Perhaps most unsettling is the child's laughter heard in the bell tower. In 2018, BBC Oxford investigated after 3 separate families reported hearing it during daylight hours. The sound always comes from the locked upper tower, inaccessible without keys. Church records reveal a 10-year-old bell ringer fell to his death in 1743, with his last entry in the parish register ominously noting, "The bells rang strangely that day." With its combination of historical violence and persistent supernatural activity, St. Andrew's remains one of Oxfordshire's most authentically haunted churches. Even the current vicar admits to keeping blessed salt in all the holy water stoups as protection against the restless entities that call this ancient building home. 8 St. Mary's Church, Woodstock, Oxfordshire. Standing in the shadow of Blenheim Palace, St. Mary's Church in Woodstock harbors one of England's most tragic ghost stories. The church is haunted by the spirit of Amelia Lanier, a 17th-century nun who was walled up alive in the church crypt after becoming pregnant. Visitors report seeing her grey-robed figure drifting near the choir stalls, particularly during autumn evenings when the setting sun casts long shadows through the stained glass. The most frequent paranormal reports involve mysterious candlelight appearing in the sealed crypt. Church wardens have documented at least 27 instances since 1921 of lights being seen through the crypt's ventilation grates, despite there being no electricity below. In 2007, a BBC film crew captured floating orbs on thermal cameras in this area during a nighttime investigation. Local legend says these lights mark the anniversary of Amelia's death each October 12th. The church's ancient organ plays a disturbing role in the haunting. Multiple organists have reported keys depressing by themselves, always playing the same 17th-century hymn tune. The current organist keeps a diary of these occurrences, noting they often precede sightings of the nun. In 2015, a visiting choir refused to return after seeing a woman's face appear in the organ pipes during rehearsal. Outside, the churchyard has its own ghost, a mysterious blacksmith seen hammering at an anvil near the Lich Gate. Historians believe this may be the spirit of Thomas Granger, who documented Amelia's punishment in his diary before dying under suspicious circumstances. Those who approach the spectral blacksmith claim to smell burning flesh before he vanishes. Perhaps most chilling is the cold spot that moves around the church. Paranormal investigators have mapped its path, discovering it follows the exact route Amelia would have taken during her final walk to imprisonment. Several sensitive visitors have reported being pushed by unseen hands in this area. With its well-documented phenomena and tragic backstory, St. Mary's remains one of Oxfordshire's most active and sorrowful haunted locations. The church now holds an annual memorial service for Amelia, in hopes of finally laying her spirit to rest. 9 St. Leonards Church, Hyde, Kent. Beneath the quiet facade of St. Leonard's Church in Hyde lies one of Britain's most macabre attractions. A charnel house containing over 4,000 human skulls and bones stacked neatly along its walls. This 13th-century ossuary, one of only 2 remaining in England, is the epicenter of numerous disturbing paranormal reports that have earned the church its reputation as Kent's most haunted religious site. The bone chapel's most frequently witnessed phenomenon is the sound of bones rattling when no one is present. Church volunteers have documented this occurring most often at 3:17 a.m., a time with no particular historical significance. In 2018, a team from the Center for Fortean Zoology captured clear EVPs of whispered counting in medieval French, possibly connected to the original bone collectors who organized the remains. Many visitors report feeling invisible fingers brushing their necks when standing near particular stacks of skulls. Above ground, the church nave is haunted by the Grey Sexton, an apparition seen moving between pews carrying an armful of bones. Historical records show this matches the description of a 16th-century gravedigger named William Masters, who was crushed by a collapsing tombstone. His ghost appears most often during autumn equinoxes, sometimes accompanied by the smell of freshly turned earth. The church tower has its own chilling legend, that of the headless bellringer. In 1792, a bellringer named Thomas Hart was decapitated when the rope snapped during a storm. To this day, when high winds blow from the channel, locals claim to hear phantom bell tolls and see a shadowy figure missing its head in the belfry windows. Perhaps most disturbing are the reports from the churchyard of skeletal hands emerging from graves after heavy rains. While archaeologists confirm the entire area sits atop older burial pits, multiple witnesses have photographed what appear to be bone fingers breaking the surface before disappearing back into the earth. With its tangible connection to mortality and numerous well-documented hauntings, St. Leonards remains one of England's most authentically terrifying sacred sites. Where the boundary between the living and the dead feels disturbingly thin. 10 St. Mary's Church, Warwick, Warwickshire. Dominating Warwick's skyline since the 12th century, St. Mary's Church is haunted by one of England's most feared spectral animals, the Black Dog of Warwick. This massive, shadowy canine with glowing red eyes appears before tragedies, its paws making no sound as it pads through the churchyard. Local archives contain 47 documented sightings since 1585, with 39 preceding deaths in the parish. The most recent was in 2019, when 3 separate witnesses saw the dog before a fatal car crash on nearby Bridge End. The church's Beauchamp Chapel holds another chilling secret. Visitors often report suddenly smelling strong incense with no source, followed by seeing a ghostly congregation in medieval dress attending Massachusetts. These apparitions fade if approached, but in 2016, a tourist's camera captured them clearly, despite the chapel being empty at the time. Historians believe this may be connected to the 1489 memorial service for Richard Beauchamp, whose elaborate tomb still stands in the chapel. The north transept is home to a more disturbing presence, the Whispering Bishop. Multiple clergy have reported hearing their names spoken in a rasping voice near the 14th century wall paintings, often accompanied by cold spots. The phenomenon was serious enough that in 1923, the diocese conducted an investigation, concluding it was likely the spirit of Bishop John de Stretton, who was murdered in the church in 1362. Below the church, the crypt has terrified visitors for centuries. Those who brave its depths report hearing scratching sounds from inside sealed tombs, and feeling an unseen presence breathing down their necks. The worst encounter happened in 2015, when a paranormal investigator emerged with 3 parallel scratch marks down his back, despite being alone in the crypt. With its combination of well-documented apparitions and physical phenomena, St. Mary's remains one of England's most actively haunted churches. Even the current vicar keeps a journal of supernatural occurrences, noting that activity increases when storm clouds gather over Warwick Castle.